gentlemen, this is the Saul Good Man, the Better Call Saul podcast. My name is Brian, and with me, as always, is French presidential candidate Dave.
So,
Dave, how's it going?
We
Indeed. Dave and I also host a Nothing Important podcast. You can find that at www.nothingimportantpodcast.com or on iTunes. And you can hear Dave and I and our friend Jeff talk to people more famous and more successful than we will ever be. So before we hop into Better Call Saul, Season 3, Episode 3, titled what, Dave?
Sunk costs.
Sunk cost. Dave and I also want to say thank you real quick for bearing with us this past week and a half. It's been kind of crazy for us, but our goal this week is to get back on the stick, get back going, and get to where we need to be. So hopefully, as you're hearing this, hopefully the credits just got done rolling on sunk cost. I'm giving Dave the eye right now, but we're going to do our best to make it happen. Right, Dave?
Winky face. That's right.
That's
we'll
right.
Get there.
But thank you so much for bearing with us. We totally appreciate it, and lots of stuff coming up for both podcasts. All right, so episode 303, Dave, we open up with shoes on a power line, and I was kind of laughing. I was like, who got their ass kicked?
Well, I was like, yeah, are we in my hometown? Because
right.
that was a thing in some of my
Right.
friends' neighborhoods.
Because I was always under the impression shoes on a power line meant that somebody got their ass kicked, and then, like, kind of to add insult to injury, you chuck their kicks on a power line, so that way they can see them, but they can't get to them. So it's like the ultimate fucking. It's like throwing somebody's ball on a roof when you're 5 years old. It's like, from far enough away you can see it, but there's no way in hell you can go get it. So it's like a big middle finger.
I like that theory, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's just kids being dicks and just throwing their shoes up on a power line. I have a 30-year-old friend that still does that.
You know what? And it might be a combination of all that depending on where you live. So feel free to hit us up on Twitter and tell us why people in your hood throw shoes on power lines.
Do you know about the corner in Indiana?
No.
There's a street corner in Indiana where people just throw like a single shoe out their window while they're driving by. It's littered with shoes for no reason.
Really?
Yeah, it's the strangest thing.
Wow, awesome. I'm going to have to look that up. Also, make sure to hit us up on Twitter if you know anything about that. That's really weird.
We used to pass it on the way to band practice,
Yeah, we should try to track that down and figure out why that is. I'm always interested in why local traditions like that start. That's pretty weird.
Friend of the podcast, Chris of Devil's Trumpet. He's the one that knows about it. It's by his house. So maybe we'll have him back out and talk about it.
Awesome. We're definitely going to have to do that. And, okay, so also, we see a Los Pollos Hermanos truck kind of hauling along. It stops at the Alto sign and then tears off. And then we see that the shoes have weathered enough and the shoestrings have finally worn away. The shoes fall and the opening credits roll. So watching the initial opening, I was under the assumption that the Los Pollos Hermanos truck, when it pulled up, that because it paused for a while at the stop sign, longer than you would normally pause at a stop sign, especially out in the middle of nowhere. So at first I was like, well, did somebody get on top of the truck and get the shoes? I was like, did they get something from is this some sort of cold drop? But then the truck took off back out the desert, and you can still see the shoes there. And then the wind blows a bit, and it finally, the last thread of shoelace finally gives way, and it hits the pavement. So until, about 35 to 40 minutes from then, I was like, what the hell was that?
I thought it was a marker, like a signal that this is where you're on the route. Gotcha. Like they have their route marked by kind of innocuous common occurrences. Shoes on a power line is pretty common, so it won't draw attention.
Right.
So
yeah, just something like a flag, just like, hey.
Which it turns out it was a marker. It just there was a more specific purpose for it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Opening credit sequence was the justice scale with the woman Ashton in it, who I guess I never really thought about it before, but I wonder if that's supposed to be Kim.
Huh. I didn't think about that. Let's say yes.
because her story seems to be like ready to take like a dark turn as well. It seems like whatever her story is, because she's kind of frustrated, but it seems like she's sticking by Jimmy. So it seems like her story might be taking a dark turn, or at least not a path of righteousness that she probably anticipated it to be at the beginning of her career. So I wonder if that's supposed to symbolize Kim kind of entering some less than ethical ground as well.
I like that theory. I also like if you combine the opening with the scene before, it's like, what do you do when the other shoe drops? Isn't that a phrase? The shoe is on the other foot now, my friends. So that's where I thought this episode was going to head. Some things would get flipped around.
Gotcha. Okay. So we pick up. We see that Mike. They're doing pretty good at picking up like 10 seconds before the previous part of the story. So we see Mike again walking up the phone. He picks it up and say, yeah. And I don't remember who predicted that on Preview with a Prior, but I think maybe you predicted.
That would be Dave.
Dave, you predicted that it'd pick back up with Mike's story, where Jeff and I thought that it might pick up at
Chuck's house.
At Chuck's house after or right before Jimmy gets arrested. So it's kind of a cool way to go about it. The voice on the phone, says, "Don't show your gun. We have no desire to show ours."
Right.
That's nice to see. It's nice to see some trust, self-trusting. It's nice to.
Mike tends to take people at their word a lot of times.
Yeah, and it's a lot more practical than what you see in a lot of TV shows where they're like, "Drop your weapon." Right. And they go through that whole thing, like patting them down and shit. It's pretty much like bro code.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just don't pull your gun and we won't pull our gun.
It's a code of honor among thieves. It's crazy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Chill dog rules. Chill dog rules.
That's right.
Do you know what chill dog rules are?
No, I have no idea.
It's like if you're in a fight and you're getting your ass kicked, you're like, "Yo, chill dog, chill." And then the person backs off because you've had enough, It's like you're still, code of honor, chill dog rules, man.
Just no biting, no kicking in the nuts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, chill dog rules. So then the cars come from either direction, surround Mike, and we get to see Gus.
That's funny.
And what's that?
I actually wrote that too. The cars come from either direction, perfectly timed. Like, how do you orchestrate that? This is like you're just bitching about people being on time and stuff, and like
it must have,
in the movies, everything's always perfectly on time.
It's well practiced. It's well practiced.
That's right. It's like the Blue Angels. They go out and rehearse for a while.
Yeah, they did several dry runs. Like they found some older bald guy to stand in for Mike. But they also blocked off the entire road. So what would they have realistically done had like a truck or something, or like anything just happened to be on the same road? Like what?
Just
like game
waving
off
around like a construction.
Game off. No,
yeah, game off. Mike picks up the phone.
Yeah, be like every fucking time. Then they have to move it all back in the exact position. So
it's a bunch of girls in a convertible.
Woo! Game of 5 rules. They're like on their way to spring break.
Yeah.
Mike's completely unimpressed by the entire show. And Gus just kind of explains how he hurt Hector by robbing the car, and he probably should back off his mission to kill him.
Right, because I like how he said, my plan isn't for Hector to die at this time. Which that's a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Which also kind of relates to something later in the episode.
Well, I mean, if that's true too, man, like Hector really played the long con on that one. He played long ball. He played long ball on that because he went from he didn't want Hector to die yet, but he waited for Hector to go like full like vegetable mode and do the wheelchair. Right. Like that's a
blew his ass up.
That's a long wait. Whatever plan he was hatching, that was patience.
By the way, I did read some little nuggets and stuff that like we haven't talked about, like the fact that Hector gets blown up in the nursing home that Jimmy starts his elder law.
Yeah, yep, very
stuff
true.
Like that.
Yeah, way cool. So what basically comes out of it is Gus is just pretty much saying, don't kill the dude. And hey, if you want to kind of keep like weakening him by taking his money away and robbing his truck as such, feel free to do so.
Yeah, see, this is what I was kind of struggling with is why, if he's a competitor, does he not want him taken out? Like, what is his benefit from Hector being in business or being alive?
Yeah,
maybe it has nothing to do with the business.
I'm not sure. Maybe it's just like some sort of relationship of convenience. And you know what's going to happen, Dave? What's going to happen is this was probably answered in Breaking Bad, and we're just going to get tweets all day about how they can't believe that we forgot why.
Yes.
But you know what? I'm not talking about Breaking Bad. I'm talking about Better Call Saul. Damn it.
And that's funny because I want to note that you did the pen shake at me. Like, this is an important thing to say.
Right, yeah.
And
absolutely.
you were saying exactly what I was thinking. We're going to catch shit for this, for not knowing.
Now, I suppose I could look it up, but it's also I'm in the middle of work, and I don't feel like it. So let's just go with all intents and purposes. But, I mean, no, because, like, in Breaking Bad, they had, like, a relationship, like, distributor and all that good stuff. So, you know, the Salamanca family was distributing whatever drugs that Gus was making. Therefore, it's expedient for him to have, you know, those distribution arms and their connections.
Oh, wait a minute. If Hector's buying the stuff off of Gus and then getting robbed, then yeah, Gus is still making his money.
Gus is still making his money, but he's pretty much hurting the cut of Hector, so he's still kind of weakening him a bit.
Right, but Gus loses nothing.
Right, pretty much, because I'm sure he's still making sure that he's getting paid, and then you know what I mean?
It's where at in the supply chain is where I got confused for a minute.
Right. Feel free to clarify, though, guys, because I know you're going to, so just go for it.
But I do like, and then he says, you know, basically, why did you go after Hector? Your family is no longer in danger. And Mike was kind of just like, I'm kind of old school with a vendetta. Mm-hmm. And then Gus is like, well, I suggest you don't. And Mike's like, nah, fuck you.
Yeah.
I ain't done.
Chill dog rules. See? Chill dog rules. Like, dude, don't kill him. Come on, chill dog. I was like, oh, no, I really kind of want to chill. Chill, bro. Like, all right.
Or maybe that was Mike going like, all right, I won't kill him, but I'm still going to fuck with him.
Yeah, that's what I got, because when he first said, you know, but I'm not done with Hector Salamanca, I was like, he's going to kill him anyway. But then, we know that's not true. We know, as of yet, that's not true. So, but we'll get into that later. All right, so then it's...
I meant because Hector's alive in Breaking Bad, so Mike's not going to kill him.
Right. So we open up in the law office. We see Francesca. She's answering a call from Jimmy. He finds shitty old cigarettes in his car, lights up, and he's pretty much, for all intents and purposes, just waiting for the police to arrive. And what was funny about this is Chuck's doing that whole thing again where he's actually trying to play like the good guy, even though he did something kind of dickish.
Right.
You know, like it's like a kid when he's.
I think he really believes it though. I the way Michael McKean's playing it.
Yeah,
it seems to me like he's not. He really believes he's doing this for Jimmy.
Yeah, like he offers them to
very
wait.
Condescending.
Yeah, like you can wait inside. You know, I'm trying to help you. It's almost like a father talking to his kid when his kid gets caught shoplifting, and he's like, all right, he calls the cops on him, and the kid can't understand why, and he's like, because like maybe this will change you, show you that you can't keep doing this shit, you know. But then he drives.
I wrote down the quote.
Go ahead.
I wrote down the quote. Before you ruin yourself or someone else, Kim Wexler.
Ah. Good call. Good call. And
then Jimmy responds with, "You're gonna die alone."
Right. Well, before that, because Chuck is like, I told you there'd be consequences, because like he played the whole thing where he's like trying to be nice and he's trying to like smooth it over and trying to reason, and then it's like he can't help himself but to like just jab at him one more time, and it's like, hey, I told you there'd be consequences, right? So like, I don't feel if he was honestly trying to help. You know, like he'd be like, because it just seems like he's just trying to drive it home. You know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, he's trying to convince himself that he's not as big of a dick as he is. But then that's his justification was like, hey, I told you what would happen. I told you what would happen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I actually disagree. Yeah. I take it a different way. I take it where it's like putting an addict through intervention. like forcing them, for their own good. Chuck thinks he knows what's good for Jimmy, so he's trying to force Jimmy on the right path. And when people don't want that, they tend to go the wrong direction.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. I mean? Fair enough. Yeah, it's open to interpretation.
I think Chuck isn't.
Yeah. And then that's
well, we got to disagree on something.
Right. I disagree. So going back to what you kind of brought up, because Chuck told him like, hey, this is what's going to happen, and it kind of walks him through the process or whatever. And Jimmy counters like, okay, well, here's what's really going to happen. One of these days, you're going to get sick again, and you're going to hide under your little space blanket, and you're going to go to the hospital, and you will die there alone.
In pain.
Bam! Hit him right in the gut.
Yeah. That's 2. The Rebecca thing, because he had just said the Rebecca line,
Yep, going for the jugular on
it's
Chuck.
And so Chuck's not taking that well because he thinks he's helping Jimmy, and Jimmy's just fighting back and
trying to end the bout early, man. Trying to end them.
He's trying to Tyson that guy.
So the next scene, we see Jimmy doing his perp walk, getting processed and booked.
That's right.
And Deputy District Attorney Oakley makes his return.
Yeah.
And kind of starts giving Jimmy the business.
Petty with a prior guy coming back. And, I mean, he's the inspiration for the name of one of our shows. So we got to give him a shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. So he makes his return, and he's kind of giving Jimmy a hard time. And they're kind of just going back and forth with kind of like abrasive banter.
Yeah, then, it's that whole that mutual respect because they're colleagues. They kind of hate each other but respect each other. Mm-hmm. They're not trying to really get over on each other.
Yeah, because he thinks he's going to be the prosecutor against Jimmy, and he's like, all right, I'll see if I can get your appearance booked up. And then he gives the classic advice that everybody gets who's never been to jail is find the biggest guy you can and punch him, which is the worst advice you could probably ever give anybody in jail. Quick story. I got arrested one time being awesome and drunk, and then I fell asleep in the cell. And the police were nice enough to me that when I woke up and I got to leave jail, they were laughing because they said that I guess what happened is there was like one blanket in the cell, and it was obvious I was going to be there overnight. So I took the blanket, and I guess some guy came and wanted the blanket, and I threatened to punch the guy and knock his ass out. So but that never happened because apparently I fell asleep right afterwards, and the police were like, there was like a good 2-3 hours there where the guy wanted to punch me while I was sleeping in the cell. Like
that would have been awesome.
Yeah,
felony assault in jail.
But the joke's on him. I was passed out from being drunk, and I probably wouldn't have noticed anyway. And I got a really cool picture with the police officer who arrested me that to this day is in a frame with my paperwork on my dad's desk in our basement.
I remember that. I actually remember that now.
Yeah, good times. Good time. So anyway, it was good to see DDA Oakley show up, and it's always fun when just like the vet, like when characters are gone for a while,
right?
And then they like. I like how that it feels way more organic because they don't just like try to like pepper in characters every episode. Yeah. You almost forget about them, and then like 6 episodes or even like a whole season later, they show up once for 5 minutes.
Right.
And you're like, oh, it's good seeing them. It's good seeing
them. It doesn't feel forced.
Right. It definitely doesn't. It definitely doesn't feel forced. Then we cut to Kim. She gets her own like waking up montage with like the music is very reminiscent of like a Wonder Woman TV show from the 1970s.
Yeah, like that female superhero kind of vibe.
Yeah. And what was awesome, it was like all mundane stuff. It wasn't like she was like doing anything awesome. It was just like putting on lipstick or
but they showed
what I mean? Like
they showed her like snap the lipstick open and it pops up, and like when she puts the shoes, every mundane thing had a little thing to it. But so my thought was this a walk of shame, or was she going from the law office to the gym to back to the law office?
I think it was just her routine, right? Because I guess she was at, was she at,
well, I guess that would fit with the whole mundane thing. Is this isn't a special day? This is a routine. This is what she's been doing.
Right? Yeah, I think this is what like like her routine to get ready to rock and roll for the day.
Right.
Like those are her like like the superheroes like putting on the cuffs and like attaching the cape and like
right,
like that kind of thing. But it's like lipstick and like curling the hair and like drying off from the shot. And then she's like all ready to rock and all pumped, like because it totally set it up like she was that Wonder Woman-esque superhero, and then just happens to be stopped dead in her track by Ernesto's car.
Right. Well, I also want to note the fact that she slept in her clothes. She's sleeping at the office. She's staying up all night to work on this case, and then just getting up and doing it all again in the morning.
Right. She's getting up, getting refreshed, getting ready to go. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, long night last night, but new day, it's go time. I'm fist pumping right now. Dave can totally see it.
Yes, he is.
You know what I mean, though? Like, she's like, all right, let's do this. Let's get Ernesto, right? Like, takes her out of her game, and then
it's kind of like, okay, something's up.
Yeah. He's got some bad news for Kim. He's like, Mr. McGill fired me, and this is how Kim finds out that Jimmy has been arrested.
That's right. Charles was right on his prediction.
That's right. Then we see Jimmy. He's finally getting uncuffed and kind of being escorted to court. The charges against him are 4th-degree felony breaking and entering, petty misdemeanor assault, and criminal damage to property. I'm really sure where the assault came in. I guess yelling at somebody in their house is assault, maybe?
Yeah, because even like Chuck immediately didn't. Maybe the PI said that or something.
Yeah, and of course he pleads not guilty. So he's doubling down on everything.
Yes, he's going to pull this off. He's going to pull this off, and he's going to do it all on his own.
So then Kim enters the courtroom.
All of which carries a maximum penalty of 18 months. I was waiting for you to do that.
I know Dave's going to cut it down. But I had to leave the recording for like a good 5 minutes there. And when I came back, Dave was asleep. All right. So Kim comes back as his lawyer. Jimmy kind of denies her. She's a little bit confused and
kind of stunned, kind of taken aback.
Yeah. Like, dude, what's up? And he just kind of says, yeah, I'm going to represent myself. And because he has no real situations previous to that, his bond is set at $2,500.
Which is pretty cheap. There's a lot of trust in him, I guess. The judge knows him personally. That's right.
The follow-up scene, he arrives at the office and Kim is there. And I thought, I didn't know if this was out of character or this was all part of Jimmy's ruse or whatever, where he comes in and he's apologetic, which he should be, but then he's like, oh yeah, Chuck bamboozled me again.
That's totally victim. In character. That's the directing of the blame, yeah.
Yeah, he's like Chuck's bullshit vendetta. But yeah. So, painting himself as the victim of some conspiracy, and he says, he didn't want her as the attorney to protect her, which might be the only sincere statement that he made during all that.
No, see, this is where we disagree again. Because I think the entire monologue was sincere to Jimmy. He blames that's his character. He blames everybody else for everything. Forget the fact that he screwed Chuck out of this multi-million-dollar law case. Right. It's Chuck's fault that he got busted. It's your fault. Right. It's like we were just texting each other before we started. Why do you? It's the bad boyfriend with the "why do you make me hurt you?" That's sincere in their own mind. Bullshit in reality.
Yeah, and I like that he turns to Francesca and he's trying to rationalize with her, and he's just like, "Hey, this isn't a typical week around here." She doesn't even seem fazed by it.
Yeah,
as if that's completely normal. All right, we're gonna move everybody off, and he's gonna come in like a dog with his tail between his legs, and okay, yeah, but I fixed a mural. Maybe she's just happy to be away from the DMV.
I guess so. I guess it's hell there. In some TV shows, it is.
Yep. We cut to the doctor's office and his kid's getting checkup, and the whole time I was because they love doing the thing where it switches over, and like normal shows, it'll give you like a, well, where the hell are they moment for a couple seconds. But like this show will tend to drag it on for like a minute to like not just set the scene, but like set the entire fucking history of everything that's ever happened at that location. So for like a minute, I'm like, are we at like Tuco's doctor? Like, is Heck? And then I was like, is this the doctor that like diagnoses Hector with whatever ailment he has that puts him in the wheelchair? Because they made it a point to show a wheelchair close up twice. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's where they're. And who knows? Maybe that was my first foreshadowing thought. For some time down the road. Was it?
That was my first thought. Was we're gonna get to Hector in the wheelchair, but I kind of had a little heads up that this is the doctor from Breaking Bad when Gus gets poisoned. Remember, he does the party. He heads straight to a doctor, which I think he also treated Walt, right?
Right.
At some point, because he got like messed up in Mexico.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so this is definitely Breaking Bad. This is definitely a Breaking Bad character.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Good insight, Dave. Nice. Very nice.
Well, sometimes I try.
So Mike's at the doctor in the name of Mr. Clark, and I love how he's trying to get a package this big.
Yeah.
And the
how many grams is that?
I don't know, this big.
Well, the receptionist called him the revenge guy.
The revenge guy? Yeah.
Like, this is the guy that's out for revenge. Which was interesting how they went from the drugs to the gun. Right? Didn't he? They go straight to him putting the drugs in with the assault rifle. Yeah. So I was like, what the hell is he going to do? Lace the bullet tips with the drugs?
Right. See, I thought I even have a note about that he placed it with the guns, but I guess that was just actually in a weird way foreshadowing what the overall plan was going forward. So, because I thought that too. I'm like, all right, that must mean something, but then it was quite a bit for a payoff on that. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's just, I put a lot of stuff in my briefcase. Maybe that was just the best place to put it. We see DDA Oakley, hanging out. He gets two.
Hold on. You know what I thought? I thought he was going to shoot somebody, and those drugs were going to like keep that guy alive.
Oh no, I didn't even think about that. I honestly just thought that he got pills for whatever reason, and like obviously it would have to do with like harming somebody or doing something,
right?
But then he just tossed it in the gun case because that's just a decent place to store.
Yeah, no, I thought
drugs, I guess.
And given the fact that he didn't go to the vet, he said our mutual acquaintance set us up, which that's the vet. So, but it was he got it in Mexico, so that's why I thought it was going to be related to him trying to snipe off Hector.
Gotcha.
And then using the drugs to
keep him going.
Yeah, I thought they were going in a person, not on top of a van.
Gotcha. Okay, not bad. Very nice. So, we see DDA Oakley. He's getting coffee. Again, we see the shot from inside the coffee machine. I think they did that in season 1. He gets 2 kinds of chips. Appears to be like really anal about like holding them a certain way.
That's right. You got to keep your sour cream and your cheddar separate.
And for some reason I was actually rooting for him to grab one for each bag and then like eat them together. I don't know why. I was like, he's totally gonna mash them together. Awesome.
It's like when you roll up,
because that's
you put Gushers in a fruit roll up.
Right. That's a solid snack move. That's a solid move. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So Jimmy sits down with a way better lunch. They start talking about the prosecution and such. Oakley's bumming fries. And Jimmy kind of keeps it like enticing him because apparently DDA Oakley is not doing well enough to buy a hamburger at the commissary. He can only afford 2 bags of chips and a shitty cup of coffee.
Well, when he says, you might have to stay in jail overnight, and Jimmy's like, well, it beats the back of a nail salon, and Oakley, he kind of understood a little too well.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, that's true. Maybe Oakley is the next Better Call Saul spinoff.
Slipping. No, we'll call him Folkley. Like the fake shades.
Getting hokey with Oakley.
Oakley dokley.
Okie dokie Oakley.
Do the okie dokie shuffle.
What
movie is that from?
Stuff.
Yeah.
No clue. What is it?
Beverly Hills Cop 3. Anyway.
Oh. 3? Beverly Hills Cop 3?
Yeah, it's the one at the... That's the one at the amusement park, and Okie Doki's the elephant. He does the Okie Dokie shuffle. Okie Dokie, Okie Yo. Anyway.
All right.
The best of the Beverly Hills Cop franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So then Oakley informs Jimmy that he's pulling in an outside prosecutor. And I love how he's just like, he just has to ask to satisfy his curiosity, dreaming of greener pastures and bigger, better things like Davis and May. And he's like, do they let you keep the German car?
Yeah.
It's like, no, that sucks.
Blows.
Or that blows. That blows.
That blows.
Mike's on the road again. He puts the package in the shoe and he attempts to toss him up on the power line, which
I can relate.
Have you tried that before?
I've tried it. It's kind of hard to do.
Have you?
Yes.
To me, it just looks like something that'd be so frustrating, like my knuckles would hurt.
Yeah, it's like throwing nunchucks or one of those bolos. You just got to get it right, and it takes several attempts sometimes.
Gotcha. Okay, but he makes it. He makes it up there. We find out why later.
And then
the prosecutor.
I want to note that it shows that 20 kilometers from the border sign, which is letting us know he's replacing those other shoes.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
It shows that 20 kilometers from the border sign, which lets us know that he's in Mexico and he's replacing those shoes that fell. That's the same spot.
Ah, nice. Good catch. I didn't even catch that. Nice.
Yeah. I thought he was like setting up a different signal, like putting the signal somewhere else so they would stop at another spot and he could ambush them. But you come to find out, blah, 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 that he just replaced the shoes because you need that signal. And which I'm wondering, is this a fortuitous attempt? Or I'm sorry, is this a fortuitous set of circumstances that those shoes fell and he was able to pull this off and set this up? Or did he cause those other shoes to fall so he could enact this plan?
Oh, well, we can, no, I think, let's revisit that here in a couple scenes.
Okay.
So, we see Miss Hayes, the special prosecutor who will be standing in for DDA Oakley, appears at Chuck's house. They're going over the case and such, and she even asks if Chuck's going to be able to go through with it because they're family.
Right.
And he assures her that he is, but then he also seems to pull that back a little bit.
Yeah, he seems so certain at first. Yeah.
Right.
Like, I'm going to testify.
I think what happens is like once she starts going over the strategy, she says, we definitely plan to hold the line on the felony. I think that's when he's just kind of like it kind of hits him a little bit and he kind of pulls it back.
Like, I want him to get punished, but I don't want him to get punished that hard.
Right. And then he comes up with the better solution for everybody that we find out in just a bit what his other solution was. And for some reason I have in a big box that says another con.
Well, I didn't see that, but I did note her use of the phrase, as officers of the court, we have to be held to a higher standard. That's like a Chuckism.
Yeah, that's totally a Chuckism. Yeah.
He's with a kindred spirit in this situation.
Right. Maybe the wheels started turning in his head how if he were in Mrs. Hayes' situation, he'd be like burning to rake the defendant over the coals. So he's like, oh shit, this lady's just as hardcore as I am.
Right.
What would I do? Okay, I have a better idea how, let's pull this, let's rein it in just a little bit. Maybe the reality kind of hit him a little bit because he saw some of himself in her.
Yes. The shoe was on the other foot.
Other foot, yeah. Then we finally see how the whole Alto sign and shoes on the wire is gonna go. So we see Mike with his rifle. He's overlooking the intersection.
You saw the little flash, the little light lens flare. What do they call that? That's how snipers can see each other.
Yeah,
the sun reflects off the binoculars.
I think that's just what it's called. It's like a lens flare, isn't it?
Something like that.
Okay, well, let's go with lens flare. Lens flare. Unless there's any snipers out there that want to correct us, please feel free to do so. But
yeah, please just correct us on Twitter. Don't blow our heads off.
Yeah, some of you people that play Call of Duty, I'm sure you probably know exactly what we're talking about. But it gives more context to the opening. In the opening, it was a well, in the opening, it was Pollos Hermanos truck, but they were driving the Rigaldo Helada truck.
Right.
I don't know. I wrote that down, and I was like,
which good catch. I honestly didn't notice that.
It was just for effect to show the passage of time. So, because
I had to go back and relook at this too, because on the Alto sign, I didn't see the bullet holes at the end of the episode.
Yeah, because the opening scene takes place after the scene in the show. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe he hit the stop sign. Yes, it does.
Because
in the opening scene, the shoes are more worn, and the texture of the electric cable and the swinging shoes eventually cut through the shoelaces, and that's how it falls to the ground.
Right, but that's why I was saying that when Mike replaced the shoes.
No, he didn't replace the shoes. He put them up there to begin with. It was like a brand new pair of shoes.
Okay, see, you know what I'm saying.
No, I don't know what you're saying.
I didn't take the opening shot as in the future. I take the opening shot as current time. The shoes fell, gives Mike an opening to plant new shoes.
Oh, no, I think you're overthinking it. When it opened up, it was...
No, I think I underthought it.
It kind of gave you no inclination of what the hell was going on, and then later on you see Mike pull out the new shoes and then does what he does in the scene.
Okay, well, so we need to scratch the entire thing that I said about how those shoes were a marker for the driver.
No.
Because they're not.
Yeah, okay, so I guess I...
To the driver, those shoes shouldn't even be there. They're just shoes hanging.
But that's what you thought they were. And so at the beginning, I could see how you could totally think that because we were all trying to figure out what exactly they were there for. Right. But what actually happens is Mike put the drugs in there. He shoots it from afar with the sniper rifle, which is the scene that we saw in the previews that we all thought like, okay, well, maybe this is where Mike actually kills somebody for the first time. And
right, which it sets you up that way because he's eyeing him up in the scope.
Yeah.
And then he just starts firing shots off. He starts firing shots off into the air. So those guys will not pay attention to the shots. So when he shoots the shoe, they don't stop the truck.
Right, because they think it's hunters.
Yes. That's clever. That's really, really clever.
That was a funny way how they teased it, though. Like he was using the sights to keep an eye on their reactions is what was going on. But the first time he did that, I'm like, oh, man, they're just making it look like – because the first couple times he did that, they made it seem like he was lining it up and was trying to see how the other guy would react to a shot. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then like the third time or whatever, that's even when they say like, oh, it must be hunters, which again is pretty damn clever. It's a good way to go about that.
Very clever.
Good way to go about that. I thought the whole putting the drugs in the shoes, so it basically is like a controlled sprinkle onto the truck. I thought that was pretty clever as well. And overall, I really, really like that scene. It's a good way.
Even though I was completely wrong about things. Yes.
But it's again another ingenious way to show that Mike thinks outside the box, and he doesn't always do things through sheer brutality, which would be just picking them off right there. He's fucking them over more because now he's got law enforcement involved. Yeah, now he's got law enforcement involved, much like when he was supposed to take out Tuco, but instead decided to get his face pounded in.
And get law enforcement involved. So, yeah, he's basically putting a bunch of people in jail that want to kill him.
Right. He's like a Batman of sorts. He's like Batman.
Yeah.
Mike Ehrmantraut is Batman. I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Okay.
Then, lastly, it's late night at Wexler and McGill. Kim's still sitting there working. She sees the sparkles from the lighter through the glass bricks of the facade. And we have a scene very reminiscent to the first time that we saw Kim, where they were like
taking the cigarette.
Yep. Sharing the.
I really noticed that.
Yep. And, a lot of nice things happened in this scene. One, Kim solidified her support for Jimmy with kind of like, I'll help you out. We're in this together kind of deal, and Jimmy lays out the full case that they have against him. And basically what it comes down to is that, Chuck's after his law license. He can so Jimmy can either confess and kind of get off, and but he'll lose his license, or he can fight in court and most likely then be put in jail, where he'll then lose his license. So it's
I don't know what a pre-prosecution diversion is. That I did not look up. Did you look that up?
Yes, it's a written confession.
Okay.
So to avoid trial, as I understand it, I looked it up. To avoid trial, what he can do is he can confess, and it'll avoid trial, and then they just kind of give him like a punishment, and that'll be the end of it. Which his punishment would be, he'd be disbarred.
He would be disbarred if he lost the trial, because Chuck wants the Bar Association to know that he confessed. My impression is that doesn't guarantee that he's disbarred. It just puts a red flag up for anybody that's looking for a lawyer. They know this is on his record, which is why he would end up changing his name to a pseudonym to protect that. It'll still be on his record and you could look it up, but who the hell looks up their lawyer?
Yeah.
Because lawyers are so goddamn trustworthy.
I guess that's true. Maybe that's where that's coming in. But basically, either way, he's set up for a catch-22.
Right. Right. So he has to choose. Basically, he has to choose being a scarlet lettered lawyer versus a completely disbarred lawyer.
Right. And Kim offers to join the fight. And, he's like, why the hell would you do that? And, she says, consider it a policy of sunk costs. So Kim's all in. And then.
Which I want to elaborate. The fallacy of sunk costs, I did look up.
You did?
And I lost it.
Oh, okay. Well, it happens to the best of us.
I Googled it. It's basically, it's going through with something because you've already invested so much into it. Mm-hmm. And not realizing that cost is sunk and there's nothing you can do to get that. It's a poker thing. It's big in poker and economics.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But there's a lot of poker similarities, to everybody playing each other and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So, and I would hear it all the time at poker tables, like, oh, I've already put this much in, I might as well put the rest of my money in. And I'd be thinking like, no, dude, because if you know you're going to lose, you fucking fold.
Yeah. Or walk away or something. But yeah, absolutely. So overall,
Kenny Rogers.
I really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was very well done. I think the shooting the shoes was absolutely ingenious, and I can't wait till next week till we get to see episode 304.
Yeah, they're still being clever, and it's still burning slow. I texted you last night. I was driving home, and I heard a DJ, a sports talk radio guy, just kind of bring it up out of nowhere, like, oh, do you guys watch Better Call Saul? And he's just like, kind of, I don't get it. He's like, is it going to be Saul? It seems like all he's doing is running errands for his brother and shit like that. And I was like, well, I wanted to call in and be like, well, it's a slow burn, and are you not paying attention to the Mike storyline?
Right, yeah.
Like, there's a lot going on. It is, and he's, this groundbreaking television. And it's like, well, I don't know if I'm not going to call it groundbreaking television, but it's pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm. I'd say,
in my opinion,
I don't know. I'd say the cinematography is probably above and beyond what you could probably find on your standard basic cable television show.
Absolutely. I think the production value is far exceeds a lot of what's on TV.
Yeah, and really, in all honesty, if we weren't doing this podcast, I would have probably forgotten that a lot of it had to do with Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't look so much into it, but I would be enjoying the show. Yeah. But I probably wouldn't watch it live and wait for it to hit Netflix.
Okay. But I thought overall a great episode. I can't wait to see next week's episode. So I guess that's where Dave and I turn to you out there listening to us. Well, what do you think? What did you think about the episode? What did Dave and I miss? Because Lord knows we probably missed a lot. But that's why we do the show. We've said from day one that Dave and I are not going to take 2 days to go analyze every little thing. What we are going to do is be your guys on the couch and chat with you and have discussions about the show, just as if you called up your buddy and you were both kind of into the same deal, and just kind of have those like, sometimes incorrect, but friendly banter, chats about mutual interests, I guess, if that makes sense. Right, Dave?
Something like that. So make sure to contribute. Not overly analytical, but we try to be a little analytical. Yep. I mean, I know we catch things that you guys don't, but I'm sure you guys catch a lot more that we don't. And we appreciate you. And thanks for the good humor about everything.
Absolutely. Dave and I are your boys on the couch. Thank you so much for listening to us every week. Make sure to check out the Nothing Important podcast for all of our great celebrity interviews. Make sure to share It's All Good, Man with all of your friends and tell them that you listen to the Better Call Saul podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, Podcast Detroit, and hopefully coming up here soon, other places. I can't wait till episode 4. Make sure to check out this week's preview with the prior and get your predictions in so we can read them on the show. Thank you for putting up with Dave and I's flightiness over the last week. We'll probably talk more about that this week on the Nothing Important podcast if you want to find out why Dave and I have been kind of off our game this past week. But we're going to make a concerted effort to get back on the stick. Right, Dave?
Yep, and we're even going to release at least one interview we have banked with a major character. I'll leave that as a surprise.
That's right. So make sure that you keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much. Check out itsallgoodman.com. Dave?
Call us idiots, call us geniuses, whatever. Just call us.